So, in early spring, around March, right as the trees are starting to get some more permanent leaves back, I'm going to take out a couple of identification guides, tree ones specifically, to start with, and hit up the local river, the one where I'm doing my earth moving project, but in a larger area. What I'm going to do is I'm going to collect sample leaves from them and compare it across different guides. To give me the best chance of correctly identifying the tree. Then I'm going to cross-reference that list with a native naturalist list, along with documentation, and then I'm going to present that to the city council in the hopes of getting permission or getting the city themselves to remove these trees. If the city won't do it, then I'm hoping to get permission for me to either apply a killer to them or simply cut them down myself. Cutting them down would be preferable because cut logs and dying wood like that and stumps make great growing grounds for fungus and insects. Uh, this being a very curated area in a more urban setting means there's less insects because people are spraying at them and trying to kill them off more often. And there's not very much fungus in that area because I don't even think the area is 200 years old yet, which for a forest is very young. Because if you don't know, most trees live till about 70, or and once they hit 70 or other, they'll stop growing, but they won't die off. That can take another 40, 50 years for them to be completely dead. Once they're dead, strong winds, rains, animals, stuff will knock them over and break them up. And that roughly covers the first 100 years of the forest life, which is about where that one is. If you look at some of the older videos that I have, and I'll show it on the one that's coming up this week, but the Monday after, I'll be showing off some of the older wood. That's all just now falling within this past decade, which means fungus will start growing in on its own eventually, in theory. But it's a lot less likely to happen because, once again, this is a very urban environment. So if I'm allowed to, I want to cut and leave non-native trees that are in that area. I would replace them with junipers, black cherries, maybe some Mexican buckeyes if I can find them. Those are all like big native trees to this area in particular. They all grow decently well in this hardiness zone. And they'll act as like fine sinks and wildlife encouragement. When I say sinks, I mean both carbon and nutrients. That area is a little overactive in terms of plant biology. And all of those are long-term staying and animal attraction. And the big part of that is animal attraction, which will help balance out the plant overgrowth that it's experiencing right now. That area isn't huge, but it's longer and it has a river running through it, although it's a mostly sterile river. It's only some mosses right now, but I'm hoping to change that too. I just have to do more research on aquatic plants. But junipers and the like are very traditionally Texas, and I want to introduce some Mexican buckeye to this area because uh, old records indicate there used to be a small patch of it roughly in this area, and now Mexican buckeye is a rarer plant in Texas overall. It's a little more common in Mexico still, being the Mexican buckeye. But juniper and ash are fairly common still, but they're good trees for this kind of area. And while I wish to restore this area to, straight up prairie like it's supposed to be, with not quite rolling hills that this part of Texas at least is known for, uh, these little patches of forest that Allen has around it are acting as miniature wildlife sanctuaries, and there are areas outside of here that are acting as prairie land still. The prairie lands are just a little further out than they're supposed to be. And I doubt that the city's going to let me cut down even just most of those trees, like you would need to turn it to prairie land. And that small river would help encourage trees anyway. But I'm also trying to look into some fungus and mycelium and stuff that are native to this area. But that's a lot harder to do, partly because most of looking into fungus is what can it do for us, or can we eat it? And it's very hard to tell, or to find a good list rather, of what's native to this part of Texas, because a lot of the lists I look at are for beginners looking for mushrooms, and they mention things that come from all over Texas in a seemingly random order, so I can't sort any kind of way. Or a couple lists are just, here's a type of every kind of mushroom that has been found in Texas, with just the mushroom's name and a very small description of what it looks like. And it's not even like the common name, it's only the scientific name, which makes it very hard to track down. Because despite what it seems like, scientific names are not as consistent as they should be, mostly because people will start at different points and then just list from that. Because some go from family, genus, species, some go genus, species, some go species. One just had the Latin version of the common names, which weren't the scientific names, but were made to look like it. And I think they did that to just be annoying. Yeah. I'm trying to start talks with the city government right now to identify the trees and then mark them down for cutting in early spring. I want to start off with a small amount and then slowly increase across this area that I'm next to, and then go to a couple of the different patches that are all around Allen. Because that's one of the things that makes this entire project so frustrating, is this area I'm doing is maybe a mile wide at its widest part, to maybe 2 miles, 3 miles across its longest part. And as far as I can tell, I'm the only one cleaning it. And I drive past 4 or 5 of these little patches of not quite 5 acres, I'll drive past 4 on my way to work. 10 if I'm going to visit my parents or something. Because Allen has a lot of runoff rivers, because Allen's not quite hilly, but it's hilly, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. And all of them are filled with trash, like this one. And all of them are too new to really adapt to being in such a thick urban environment. So I'm trying to help them along where I can, but I'm one guy with like 2 or 3 days a week where I can do 2 or 3 hours of this. But if you have, I guess, a list of things that grow in hardness zone 8 and a prairie land for a list of fungi that grow in that kind of area, because I'm in 8B hardness zone, blackland prairie, and I believe they're limestones. They're in that area, which is why I was thinking juniper and ash and buckeye, because those are all fine with limestone. I think the buckeye actually even prefers it, but I'm going to double check that those are limestones. Yeah. Black cherry, buckeye, and juniper, maybe an ash, or what I want to replace any non-native trees in that area with. Even though I'm allergic to juniper, so that one's going to be interesting for me. But as long as I do it not during flowering season, that should be fine. Ugh. Thank you for listening, if anyone's even been listening.